Let me share my screen. So can you guys remember what all we discussed yesterday? Introduction to database, right? What are the features of database? We have discussed few features, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what is it? आप ही बोलना है आज पूरा मुमताज.
मैं बोलूं?
हम्म. डेटाबेस का फीचर्स बोल दो क्या है, कल डिस्कस किए थे ना.
मेरे को आरटीओ और आरपीओ बोले और हम्म,
We discussed about snapshots.
हाँ हाँ हाँ, यस, स्नैपचैट
Okay,
और
and we discussed about standby database.
हाँ हाँ, स्टैंड बाय
What
डेटाबेस।
what is standby database? Then we discussed about read replicas. Okay, so we discussed about read replicas, and then mm, we discussed about RTO and RPO, right? Which has so your database should have very less RTO, okay, recovery time objective, and recovery point objective. Okay, all these are database features. Okay, whichever database, okay, depending upon your project requirement, you need to select the database. Okay, so in real time we have two type of transaction, right? One is OLTP and OLAP. Okay, what is the difference between OLTP and OLAP? Online transaction processing, online analytics processing. So OLTP is a row based storage. Okay, this is the typical way. All these days, previously they were using this. Okay. So OLAP is the new one. So where it will follow columnar based storage. Okay, you can store in the column wise. Okay, so now we'll discuss all the database which comes under OLTP, the database which comes under OLAP. Okay, so let us start. So from where we have stopped. Okay, yeah, we had a discussion about OLAP and OLTP. Okay, then we have something called document database. Okay, document database. So this and all we will talk. Okay, how it will store, and then we have in-memory database. Okay, so all these are all the types of databases. Okay, based on OLAP and OLTP. These all are types of database that we're gonna talk. Okay, first let us start with RDS because it's the most used database in AWS. Okay, RDS is the most used. All the project people and all they'll prefer RDS only. Okay, what do you mean by RDS? It's a relational database service. So relational database means I explained right yesterday. So all the database will be interrelated. Okay, right. So this is the introduction about RDS. Okay. So it's a managed relational database service for OLTP use case. Please remember this RDS falls under OLTP. Okay, wherein it supports your Amazon Aurora, your PostgreSQL, MySQL. These all are, product-based databases. Even if you have your own product-based, if you see this is the Microsoft SQL, which is developed by Microsoft. Okay, so all these things, different types of database also you can run in Amazon RDS. That's what they are saying here, right? So as I told you, database it has to have good features, right? So when it comes to the Amazon RDS, we have this thing. Okay, so if you see here, we have multi-agent deployment, we have read replicas, and it is stored. It can do auto scaling. automated backups, manual snapshot, all the features it is providing. See, multi-agent deployment means you will have a standby. So multi-agent deployment means, so suppose if you have deployed your RDS in availability zone 1, okay, in availability zone 1, same RDS, okay, it will automatically, right? You will not have to do anything. To go to store in availability zone 2 as well. So even if this data zone 1 goes down, they will pick it up from zone 2 and give. So in the background, AWS will manage it. Okay, multi-agent deployment. Okay, that's why it is a main features. It's a multi-agent deployment. And the read replicas. Okay, so read replicas, if you want, you can give multiple read replicas in the same region or in other region or in other zone, wherever you want, you can give. You guys know what is read replicas, right? Yesterday I have explained. Okay, so storage is also auto scaling. And then we have automated backups. So backup is also automated. That means all the data whichever you store here to your RDS, everything is automatically backed up in different zone. That's why people will go for RDS, and also cost wise it's a bit cheap. Okay, so now responsibility. What is the responsibility shared between you and AWS here when talking about RDS? Okay, AWS is responsible for, all the things which is for the availability, durability, scaling, maintenance, backups, everything AWS will take care. Okay, so maintenance means the patches, right? So patches means OS upgrading for this RDS database engine. So manually, people used to do manually. It's a very big process. So how they will do is they'll have a two RDS database in zone 1 and zone 2. If they want to update this OS patch, first they will send all the traffic to this, and they need to stop here. They'll up, they will update here OS patches, and then they'll stop here. They'll send the traffic here, and then they'll update OS patches here. Okay, so all these are very tedious process if you gonna do it. But what AWS is saying, give it to us, we will take care. Right? So same like your Zoom car model, or in the initially have explained, right? Your Zoom car subscription, how responsibility is shared. Same way it is shared here. Few responsibility is shared by AWS. What is that? Availability, durability, scaling, backups. Here we are responsible only for the managing, okay, database user and what kind of data you put. That's it. Okay. So as I told you, it's a multi-agent deployment. This is how it's gonna look. As I told you, right? So if it's in availability zone 1, same thing will be there in the availability zone 2 with the synchronous application, synchronous replication, right? So I have explained what is synchronous application. That means strong consistency. If you put 5 data here, that 5 data will always be there. It will be, it will same like your mirror. It will be like that. Okay. That is what you call it as a multi-agent deployments. RDS is providing that. Okay, so if you go with the multi-agent deployment, there's a very less chance of losing your data. Okay, same way read replicas. Also, it support very read-heavy database workloads. So if you have huge team who is working on analytics, who wants to take or read the data from your database, they should have their separate read database like this. Okay, what is the difference between multi-agent and read replica? If you see here, it's a synchronous replication. But a read replicas database, it's a asynchronous replication. That means if you put one data here, it will take 2 seconds to reflect here. Are you getting it? That's what you mean by asynchronous. So if you create read replicas, it will be asynchronous application. Okay. So this is all about Amazon RDS and its features. So just let's summarize it. So RDS, in where it will fall? It will fall under OLTP. OLTP, and it has multi-AZ, right? It has multi-AZ, it has read replicas, then your multi-AZ read replicas, high availability, high durability, right? Automatic patches, all the thing is automated. Only thing you have to maintain your users and the data what you put. That's all your responsibility. So any doubt in this RDS database? So actually my account is got locked. See, I'm unable to sign up. Okay, or else I would have shown you how it looks. Anyhow, this is for developers, but as a cloud, if you're going for the exam, you should be knowing this. Okay, the solution architect associate, you'll just need to have an idea to explain to users. Any doubt here, guys? Mumtaz, Sriraman. Okay. So we'll start with the next. I believe you guys are just watching recordings, okay? So then I'll just go up, speed up the process, right? So next thing we have something called Amazon Aurora. Okay, this is very important. The most question asked on this Amazon Aurora in your exam. Okay, if you're going for exam, so definitely you're gonna get question on Amazon Aurora. So here, why they are focusing more because Amazon Aurora database, it's a product of Amazon. Okay, so how you saw your Microsoft SQL, right? Oracle SQL, it's a product of Oracle, Microsoft. Same way, this Amazon Aurora, it's the database of Amazon. Okay, that's why they'll focus more on Amazon Aurora. And also cost wise, it's a bit cheaper. But here you have to understand it supports only MySQL and PostgreSQL, only Amazon Aurora. Okay, right. So what makes Amazon Aurora a difference from your RDS is, so if this is your RDS and this is your Aurora, so it's a MySQL and PostgreSQL compatibility. Okay, so here, if you see here in the Amazon Aurora, 2 copies of data each in minimum 3 availability zone. Can you see the durability and availability here? So whatever if you put in one zone, okay, if this is your main database, okay, your M is there, no, it's a main data. If you store here, if you store one data, that data will be having a 2 copies. That two copies in each zone. So there's a 0.0001% of chance losing your data in Amazon Aurora. That's why people, or usually prefer Amazon Aurora and RDS. Same like RDS, but here it provides they have a 2 copies of data in each availability zone. Can you see here 2 copies of data in each minimum of 3 availability zone, and it can give up to 15 read replicas. Just imagine 15 read replicas. Okay, so they can read from any of these read replicas, and it also provides global database option. Okay, if you have users over the global, okay, you have that global database option as well. Okay, so when it comes to the deployment, right, you have a single master, multi-master, and the serverless mode. What are these single master means? So single master means one writer and multiple readers. That means this M is there, no? This will be your only they'll put data here, single master. But if you see, they have multiple read replicas. If you go with multi-master deployment, it is a bit costlier. You will have, right, multiple main database. That means you can put from this zone You can insert from this zone, right? This is multi-master. And the serverless means, so when you don't know how is your traffic, how user comes, you can go with serverless. AWS is gonna manage it. No matter any users come, okay, AWS will manage. If you want, it will create multi-master, or it will go with the multi-read replicas. AWS will take care when you don't know the user. That's where serverless comes. Okay, but remember, serverless is a very costliest. Okay, so this is what Aurora makes difference from any from other database, guys. See, it has 2 copies of data, multiple 15 read replicas, multi-master deployment, and serverless model. This you will get it only in Aurora. Why? Because it's an Amazon product. Is it clear, guys? Okay, so I believe it's clear for you. So let's move on the other features. If we're talking about database, so that is security and encryption. Okay, so here in security and encryption, so what's the main security when it comes to the RDSs? So you'll have to create a VPC with private subnet, and you have to use security groups to control access. These 2 things you guys know it, right? So you'll be creating a VPC with private subnet. What do you mean by private subnet? Subnet which doesn't have access to internet. So the subnet which doesn't have access to internet, there you're gonna put your database. That's the first level of security. And then you'll use security group to control access. And the third thing is managing the access management, that is through IAM. Who should access your database? Whether will you give that database access to all the new users, to all your juniors? No, that you have to maintain right through IAM. And then other way of securing is encryption, right? You have to enable encryption with keys from KMS. All right. So, there are 2 types of encryption. I mean, 2 types of securing. So one is when the encryption is enabled. So what happens? Data in the database or automated backups, read replicas, and snapshots all are encrypted. That is for data at rest. So if you enable encryption, the data in the database, automated backups, read replicas, snapshot, all the data will be encrypted, right? So for data in flight, that means your data in transit, what you'll follow? You'll follow SSL certificates, right? So when it comes to the security of your database, what you need to say is you have to mention these points: VPC with private subnet, security group, IAM, and encryption. All right. So this is about RDS and Aurora. Now we're gonna talk something unique one. Okay, that is what is the DynamoDB. Okay, it's a document database. Okay, in Amazon we call it as DynamoDB. So what is this DynamoDB? Means here you will not have any tables at all. It's a schema-less, right? In DynamoDB you will not have any tables at all. So all these till now what we are discussing. So it's a relational database. We'll be having rows, columns, or the columns, right? But in DynamoDB, in DynamoDB, there is no table at all. There's a schema less. It's a key value. Only you'll give key and value. Okay, so you'll just give student and student name. Okay, and you'll just give gender, male or female, and you'll give class, 5th or 10th. That's it. Key value pair. It will store data in a key value pair. When you want to retrieve data, you will retrieve based on your keys, whatever you give the keys. That's it. Okay. It's a fast, scalable, distributed, okay? And it's a flexible NoSQL key value and document database. So please focus here. It's a schema-less, right? So why do we go for this? Because it's a single digit millisecond. Okay, it has a single digit millisecond response. When you want faster response and the schema-less, you will go for DynamoDB. That is your document database. right? You don't have to worry about scaling, availability, durability. Why? Because it's a managed service. AWS will take care, right? So let's talk. Okay, so this is the example how you'll store your data. Can you see your only key value ID one, name and username, email, then give email address, and then city, then zip code, right? Only how you are storing only key value. That's it. There's no table. Okay, there's no table at all. Okay, so hierarchy it follows like this. So that means whenever you want to retrieve data, you will retrieve using keys. Okay, that's what they're saying here. So there will be two keys. One is partition key and sort key. Right, these all very deep. If you are going for the developer course, we have something called developer associate. If you are going for that course, right, you need to be very sure about DynamoDB or how it works and all. But here we are just doing high level overview. Okay, right. When it comes to the keys in DynamoDB, we have partition key and we have sort key. Right. So why do we use it? We use these keys to retrieve the data from DynamoDB. Okay, so the primary key, whatever you give, it should be very unique. Okay, so using primary key only, you will store everything. So same like this. So if you see your name, username, email, address, these all are your primary keys, right? So these all are primary keys. Okay, so if you want to retrieve data, you have two ways of retrieving data from DynamoDB. That is query was scan. So when do you go for queries? When you want to search using a partition key attribute. Okay, it's a only for one or two values, right? So if you want to, let's take out, if you want to take out all the emails, how many emails are there? So you'll go with a query. You'll just go in the DynamoDB database, or you'll put in query, and then you'll give email ID. That email ID you'll get. But if you want to take a lot of data, right? If huge form of data, then you will go for something called scan. So if you give for scan, it reads every item in your table, right? It is expensive compared to query because it gives almost all the data. In query, you will only specific the data, only whichever data you want, you will get it through query. Is it clear, guys? DynamoDB, you get more questions in exam. In exams, you get a lot of questions on DynamoDB. So it is a schemaless, it is a millisecond response, or it uses partition key, and you should it you for retrieving data you should have a query or scan. Okay, these are the features of the DynamoDB. Let's get deeper. All right, so we have something called capacity modes. So what is provision and on-demand capacity modes is so provision means whenever it has some like how much inputs and how much output it should come, it has some limits. Okay, DynamoDB. If you want more limit, you can go with provision. Okay, so where the more request come, you will only build for the more inputs and more output request. But if you don't know, right, what is your model, like how many requests it come, how many requests it go, then you can go away for on demand, right? So any of these are not much important capacity modes. So please focus on security here. So how do you protect your DynamoDB is IAM and encryption. So when it comes to the database, how do you protect your database? Security is main thing is your access management, that is IAM and encryption, right? So server side encryption, you can integrate with the keys from KMS, right? It encrypts everything. And then if you want, you can go with the client side encryption also. So you will be managing your keys here. Okay, these are the encryption ways, and then you can use IAM roles, right, to provide least privilege access. So if you see your predefined policies available here, Amazon DynamoDB read only access, Amazon DynamoDB full access. Like these kind of policies you will mention for the user, right? So using this, you will give a fine grained control. Please repeat this word, it's fine grained control. Okay, so how do you protect your DynamoDB is through IAM and encryption. All right. So far we have discussed about RDS, its features, and then we discussed about Amazon Aurora, right? And then we discussed about DynamoDB, right? So next thing, so here I have made a comparison DynamoDB versus RDS. So when you get this slides, let's just go through it. So one more option DynamoDB provides is DAX. Okay, DynamoDB Accelerator. Okay, it is nothing but your cache layer. Okay, so when you go for DAXs, so your DynamoDB provides something called cache layer for faster response. Instead of going to your database, so when the user comes first, they can go to the cache layer, they can retrieve the data. Okay, it's a again, single digit millisecond response. Right. So now let's talk about something called Amazon in-memory databases. We have other kind of database that is in-memory database. So why do we use this? When do we use this? And what are the different types of in-memory database? So the best example for in-memory database is your online gaming, right? Or whatever your online streaming, right? So if you're watching any match, let's say if you're watching or any cricket match, right? If you're watching on Hotstar, so you will be getting the pop-ups, right? You will be getting the live comments, right? Live this thing. So whenever any user puts any comments, immediately within a second it will show, right? Your match will be going on. Even on that, if anything happens, live score you will be getting, right? Live comments you will be getting, live reactions you will be getting. All those things you will be getting very instantly. If any user does, instantly you will get. How they'll achieve? They'll achieve through in-memory database. Okay, so the best example for in-memory database is we have Elastic Cache. Okay, so again, it's a managed service. Whenever I say managed service, all the things taken care by AWS. You just have to maintain your users and data. Okay, so again in memory in Elastic Cache, we have two options. One is Redis and Memcache. Okay, so first let's look at Redis. I think if I have made differences, no, I didn't. All right, first let's look at Redis. What is this Redis? Right. So Redis, it's a again in-memory database. It's a highly scalable and low latency. Okay, it automatically fail over with multi-agent deployment. Okay, so again, this is an option. Okay, it supports backup. So if you see use cases, caching, session store, your chat, WhatsApp chat, right? Gaming leaderboards, right? Online live streamings, all those things you can do it through Redis. Okay, so people use this, guys. So many big firm they use this Redis database. I have seen it. Okay, people use it more. Okay, so how it will use? They'll create one cluster, right? And they'll have a shard and all. They'll create nodes, and in that, okay, you don't have to worry. Just remember, as a solution architect for in-memory database, right? We have Elastic Cache, and in that we have two options: Redis and Memcache. So in I have explained about Redis. Okay, so let's get into Memcache. Okay, it's a simple caching layer intended for use in speeding up dynamic web applications. Okay, so it is not as advanced as Redis. Please remember, Memcache is not advanced, so it's like useful for just you'll add one layer for your web applications. Right, if you want to add cache layer to your web applications, you can go with Memcache. Right, if you see your idle front end for data stores like RDS or DynamoDB, right, if you want to add just a cache layer for those kind of things, you can go with Memcache. Okay, it's a very simple thing. Okay, it is not as advanced as RDS. So when it comes to the in-memory, the most used database is Redis. Okay, Amazon Elastic Cache Redis. Right, so here you have limitations. If you see your limitations of memcache is, see, backup and restore is not at all supported. Okay, it does not support encryption and it does not support snapshots, nothing it supports. Right, it is only a simple layer. Okay, if you just want to add a layer of uh in memory database, then you will go with Elastic Cache Memcache. That's it. Okay, you will not use this for your primary database or your primary use. Is that clear, guys? So yeah, here it is. So just go through this slide. Okay, Memcache versus Redis. So use Elastic Cache and Memcache for very low maintenance, simple caching solution. Okay, only simple caching solution, and then use Elastic Redis for persistence, for data backup. Right? If you want to use this as your main database, right? Because it provides automated backups, multi-agent deployments, encryption option, re-replicas, all those options it provides, Redis. But Memcache doesn't provide. That's the major difference. This you will get it in exam for sure. Okay, definitely you're gonna get this question. All right. So if you want even higher level overview of databases, what are the different databases we have, right? So let us discuss here. So first we have discussed about RDS, right? It's a relational database. So here, what do? We use it for a managerial relational thing. Okay, if your project has a more of relational database, then you'll go with RDS. When do you go for DynamoDB? When you want to go for a key value pair database, right? You'll go for DynamoDB, right? So Amazon Document DB is for if in the on-prem, if you're using MongoDB, then in a cloud you can go for Amazon Document DB, right? So, and then what is Elastic Cache? Elastic Cache is a in-memory databases. Here we have Redis and Memcache. Okay. Apart from this, we have other databases as well. So Amazon Key Spaces. Okay, it's for a Cassandra, right? On on-prem, we have lot different types of databases, guys. Okay, if they are using Cassandra, then you can go for Key Spaces, right? If you want to, graph database, that means the best example for graph database is like or your Instagram, Facebook, right? The people are intel mutual friends will be connected, right? So that is a different kind of database. Okay, it's called as a graph database. So if you have client requirement as a graph database, you can go for Amazon Neptune. Okay, you can go for Amazon Neptune. Usually they'll use it for social media platform, your Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and then time stream. Okay, so for IoT things, okay, for IoT, what time, what has done, right? If you want to store related to time, then you can go for Amazon Timestamp. Like this, not only this, still AWS provides a lot of things, but RDS, DynamoDB, Elastic Cache is the most used one, and Amazon Aurora. Okay, I've missed this Amazon Aurora. Please note, make a note. These are the most used database. Okay, so as you know, these blue blue texted page are for your exam. Okay, if you're preparing for the exam, this tips, if you just read this and go, it will really help you guys. Okay, in exam, what to remember. Okay, these are extra information which I have given. Okay, so I have explained even more about Cassandra. What is Cassandra? Okay, and Amazon Key Spaces, right? So Cassandra is an on-prem database. See, if you see more very big services like Netflix or your big applications, they'll use Cassandra. So if you want to move that Cassandra to the cloud, you'll make use of Amazon Key Spaces, right? So everything I have explained here. Okay. So this is about databases, guys. So I have covered everything about database. I have taken two classes, right? Usually people will not spend much time here in the database. They'll just mention one RDS, how to create RDS, okay, and then leave it. But I have given all this much knowledge. Please make use of it. Okay, if you're going for the interview, right, please mention what are the different types of your database and how do you protect your database. Mention that. Okay. So if there's no doubt, we can close for the day. Tomorrow we're gonna start new monitoring session. All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.